Hello, I'm live and you can't see me. There we go. So, how are you guys doing? I was trying to set some things up and I'm running a little bit behind my time, my schedule, because of a few things that came up. MCToon will be joining us shortly. And I'm trying to figure out why my video isn't playing in the background. I just figured out something that I didn't know about this StreamYard software. And it's pretty cool. Hey, Beulah. Good to see you. I can do this. That's pretty cool. I can play videos off of my computer. I didn't know that. I thought I had to do something much more difficult than that. But let's see here. I'm going to try to do something. Whoops, wrong page. Let's see. Uh-oh, what did I do? Let's see what happens if I do that. Something's not right. Well, let's see. I'm working on it. Sorry, guys. And then I have to keep my eyes open for MCToon. All right, he says he's getting going now. So that's great. And I will keep my eyes open for him. I just realized that I could do this with the share video thing. So now I have all these videos that I want to put in there. And I found out they have to be a certain format. So that makes it not difficult, but a little bit more involved. But I can play some interesting things, like I can just do this, I think.
To seeing how you move. You never
That's
fail,
awesome.
Heavenly Father. In the good or the bad, you never fail. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Oh, I can even...
Okay. Please open up your Bibles to Isaiah.
Sorry. I guess I can turn it down, and... So let's see. How do I pause it? Okay. Oh, I can maybe change... Yeah, I can go partway through the video. That's awesome. Let's see if I can find the right part.
Accomplished a great feat, but now we got kicked out. So
This is, that was, his name is... Oh, you know what? I just realized I screwed up on it, and I had... Sorry, guys. I've got my... I had to go to a job this morning that I didn't know about till late last night, and so I did, and I didn't get time to set up some things that I was hoping to set up. But I'm hoping... Whoops, let me go back here. There's MCToon. Let's see. Is he there? How you doing, MCToon?
I'm here. How are you?
Good. Good to have you. I'm like a little behind on my stuff, and I just figured out something that I didn't know that I could do with this software, this StreamYard. I've only used it a few times. But I can play video files right off of my computer. I didn't know that. So that's cool.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it is, actually. So how's MCToon doing?
Good.
Good?
Sorry, I was a little late. We were eating. We had a little later start than we were gonna. And then my daughter, she's so sweet. I had dusted my room here, and she found the duster. And when I was just, working, and she put the duster on my head as a sweet little joke. And I'm like, what is that? And it's, I didn't know. And I'm like touching it, and I'm like, falls on the floor. I'm like, oh, that's dust.
It's always good to dust the head off a little bit.
So, yeah, so actually dusted on the head. So, like, while I'm eating, I'm like, oh, I smell dust, and I have a headache. So I'm like, yeah, I don't have, like, a big problem with dust, but my wife and one of my other kids does. I'm like, that could really be a problem. Don't do that again, honey. Anyway, so...
Like allergic problems, kind of? Like
yeah, and I don't, but I still got a headache, so I'm like, oh. So I like go to the bathroom. I'm like, I gotta clean my whole head, get all that dust off. So my hair is all wet, and that's why.
So I heard yesterday you guys were. I caught the first part, but he's got something real quick. I'm gonna pull up.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
I was gonna say I saw yesterday. You guys were questioning the idea of gravity. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't catch the actual presentation that you guys did. I caught the
pre-show.
Yeah.
He didn't actually wind up doing much. He presented his model.
So we're not going flying anywhere.
No, we're safe. We're safe.
Okay,
Gravity
we're
still exists. We were joking about that, but yeah, he's very determined and focused, and has written a book. His name's Doug DeAros, and he's a concaver. Thinks we live on the inside. He thinks the sun is all electrons, and that the idea of the Bohr model, where the protons and neutrons on the inside, electrons on the outside, he thinks that's opposite. He put the electrons on the outside, and he replaced the weak force with springs, and
Springs.
and kind of hand waved away electromagnetism, and even though still says it exists, like because the electrons wouldn't want to be together, they have the same charge, they're going to repel. What holds them together? Springs.
Oh, like with hooks, or
I don't know.
springs that have like hooks on you?
He said rather so like in the standard model of physics, inside the nucleus there are protons, and there are positively charged and so repel, and there's forces that hold them together, and it's just a general force that holds them all together that's very short range. This is interesting, it's an interesting idea that each spring has just two particles that they hold together. So like there's this web of all of the springs binding all of the particles together. So,
And this is like pretty too small to see, isn't it? With your eyes.
Yeah,
You need
it's
like a,
subatomic particles. Yeah. So, he has no reason to think this is the case. It's just an idea. So, and everything starts as an idea, right? And then you start going down the path, saying, well, what does that mean when to have this be? What does that seem right? You test it, you build things in your head, you model them, you test them with experiments. And I'm like, what about?
You wind up on a globe. You
Well,
gotta be kidding me.
Well, no, not
I'm just teasing.
just in general. I'm just, you wind up confirming because you test something and it works, so you confirm it, right? That doesn't prove it; it confirms it. Or you test something and it contradicts it, and you're like, well, that might not be correct. You test it again, test again. If you get a bunch of things saying no, then you're like, that's pretty confident that it's not the right understanding of it.
Yep. And then I've learned lately, and then I mean, you and I are on an opposing idea. You know what I mean? You have an opposing idea to mine, and it's interesting, and I'm sure it is from your point of view too. It's interesting to watch how it seems, although some things seem to be so concrete, someone else can come and look at the same thing and maybe somehow look at it however different, and end up seeing it completely different. And so that's interesting to me, because I think that, it's too bad that, maybe this hasn't happened more, where people can actually challenge the other person's idea without being offended. That's it happens a lot, but more often than not, it's like, it seems to be where you're stupid and they're dumb, that they can't. Well, even, and I know you do it in a joking, loving way, but what does it say on the back of your cup, your new Toon cup? If you got it there,
I think it's
Says your lack of what?
Your inability to grasp
Okay.
science is not a disproof of it. Something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that, or doesn't disprove it, right? Something like that.
Yeah,
And I can agree, but I can also agree that like if I was gonna deliver, a nice punch back, it would be something like your inability to perceive the world you actually live in doesn't disprove it. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to rip on you, of course, or anyone.
I agree. It's not perceptions.
Yeah, there exactly. We could almost call it's a debate of do we trust equipment or do we trust our, and I'll say it, flawed human perceptions.
Yep. And so here I have a great example. Hold on.
All right.
I'm digging around for a reason. Within astronomy, Vera Rubin is an excellent example of somebody that brought a completely different idea that contradicted a bunch of other things, and got a lot of kickback for it. Right? She did not. It wasn't just accepted.
Usually things aren't, though.
Yeah, and
it's because it's a weird thing or something,
Yeah. So, but of course, if you're going to present something that drastically changes the current understanding of it,
yeah.
bring it. But you got to have a solid case, and you need to take into account the rest, real world things, right? So you can't say, well, I'm going to ignore that because it doesn't fit my thing.
I agree with that.
You have to bring it all in.
Yep.
So this is
you can't
is the
ignore
paper.
anything, because if you ignore something at all, you're just doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah,
like
it might falsify. So this is the paper by Vera Rubin. It's
okay.
It's big. This is the one, and she has. This is, and I'm sorry, I didn't tell you what it was about. No. She's the one that identified that galaxies appear to rotate too quickly on the perimeter.
Like, for what our understanding would be of how things move around, you're saying? Like
yeah.
Okay.
And so that's what brought dark matter into the hypothesis of dark matter into the,
and that's
in astronomy. Yeah,
that's a whole a bunch of our universe is basically dark. It has to be something like whatever.
Yeah,
theoretical kind of, right?
Hypothetical is a better word.
Yeah. That is
in science, to be clear, when a scientist uses the word theory, it's a theory is something that's been confirmed through lots of experiments. A hypothesis is an idea, testable idea. If it's not testable, it's not a very good hypothesis. And before you even have a hypothesis, you have to have an idea, or maybe a better word would be model of what is our understanding.
Even a question that opens up like, well, what about something like this? And actually, I have a question. I actually talked to you in Facebook Messenger. I asked you a question, and I was trying to figure something out the other day about
rotation.
The ring. And I think I totally understand what you're saying now. And I'll share with the people watching because that might help. I asked him about the ring laser gyroscope, how it's able to sense very sensitive, like probably one of the most sensitive pieces of equipment or whatever measuring device that we have for motion. I don't know, but I was asking him, what is that measuring? As the light hits the mirrors and goes to the sensor, and it picks up one before the other because it's different. It's moved its position, however far in a very short amount of time, and we can pick it up with sensors, right?
Yeah.
And I was wondering, well, okay, if the Earth was rotating, like let's say you're standing on the equator or whatever, you'd get some outward. Would it be like, well, I guess it would be rotation. Like, I was trying to understand, what is that measuring? Is that measuring just the movement of the Earth, or is that like the Earth going around the sun? These kinds of things, and I'm thinking of this movement. How could it pick up one of those movements and not the other? And then
It has to pick up all of them.
I suppose,
Yeah.
but I understand what you're saying also about a rotation, because you're doing it over the course of an hour or over 24 hours or
More,
or
yeah.
yeah, because you wouldn't like the Earth going around the sun each day. That's not very much like
Yeah,
rotation or
it's
movement.
it's about 1 degree of rotation, because there's
Okay, yeah,
365 days in a year, 360 degrees in a circle. So
yep, or an ellipse, but
yeah,
whatever.
it's
Yeah,
true.
but see, that's all just fairy tales, because all that stuff that I'm not saying it's not true, or you know that you're wrong, but we I think that the point should be made anyway, that when we think about the sun or the Earth orbiting around the sun, or we think about planets orbiting around the sun, we should all at least make a note that none of that happens that we see with our eyes. That's all happening in our imagination, and the reality of the situation is that everything is just passing over our heads from the surface of
Well, yeah,
whether it be a
movement-
solar system or not. I'm saying,
yeah. The movement around the sun we can see by referencing stars and the sun.
exactly.
So we can see that. In addition,
But what do you see? What do you see? What do you see the sun doing every single day? Do you know what I'm saying? The perception that we have is it comes up in the east and sets in the west, goes over our heads every day. So we have to step outside of our firsthand direct perception in order to comprehend what the solar system would be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I'm not saying one way or the other, really. It's more of just that I think it's an important thing that we realize. A lot of it we put together up here before, you know what I'm saying, before we put it down on paper and teach our topics.
Well, yeah. Everything's all ideas start in the head.
Yep, that's true.
Right.
Unless they're just an observation. Like, here's an example. When I was debating Red's rhetoric, he kept talking about, you know, how the Earth was rotating because we have these measurements of it rotating, these physical measurements, and he kept saying in the physical reality you occupy. And I'm saying, yeah, the one I occupy isn't moving.
That's your perception of it.
Exactly. It's my perception of it. It's your perception of it. It's your observation of it and my observation of it. And everyone that lives here on Earth, so billions of people, observe and perceive a stationary place where they live. Do you know what I mean? We don't like
But-
you. Oh, go ahead.
But I went over this on Facebook too. You know, you talked about our God-given senses. God didn't give us the sense of measuring constant velocity, so we don't have that.
But
sense.
you're just injecting the velocity part, because I'm just saying it's what we observe is that it's not moving unless we get out some fancy equipment that might be measuring what we think it's measuring.
That's
but
where you'd have a hypothesis,
Yeah.
right?
And I'm not saying I have any more than even an idea, but there's has to be, you know, I never thought about these things for like 37 years of my life, and then the last 5 years, for some reason, I started thinking about these things in a different way. So I try to share it with other people. And by the way, I appreciate MCToon. I appreciate you, taking your time and hanging out and being willing to talk about some of these things, because some people are like, you're crazy. And I'm like, no, I'm not really crazy. It may appear that I'm crazy if you hear what I believe or something, but what I would say is that I can make sense of some of it, not all of it, but anyway. So what you were talking? I want to hear about that Reuben. What you were talking about, your paper you had there.
Oh, Vera
What?
Rubin.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I know the name, but I don't. I'm not. I don't know why I know the name.
Yeah. Well, I mean, being a female in the 60s, I think,
Yep.
in a field, 1979, she published this. And in the 70s, still, it was a man's field. And so she, being a female, it was pretty notable that she had maybe a little extra uphill battle there because guys are
Yeah.
guys, and we don't always treat women the best way. So she had that, but yeah, so she had, I think she presented the idea, and she had some backlash, and she had to really dig in deep. And if you look at this paper, it's like I said, it's pretty thick.
It's a pretty like full
Very
of
detailed.
information. Okay.
Absolutely. So I mean, look at these.
Yeah.
Lot of work.
Pages.
She's no slacker there. And this was public. I mean, this is not the first attempt I'm sure, at her publishing. This is in, the Astronomical Journal, 1980. She had a lot of other things that she brought to. So she did all this work, and she's like, look, the edges of the spiral galaxies are not where they should be according to the amount of mass that we see in the galaxy. And
Like it didn't make quite add up or whatever.
And so but now, so other people eventually are like, all right, well, let's look into it, and they're like, yeah, that's what we're seeing as well. So
Kind of like flat Earth. I mean, you'll come around. I'm just. You know what? I like teasing you.
uh-huh.
Yeah. So I saw in the chat that you and FTFE are identical cousins.
We are, yes.
Saw that.
Yep.
That's-
Actually, yeah, 74th cousins.
Okay.
Once removed.
Once removed.
Yeah.
Well, for Craig, it should be twice removed. No, I'm just kidding. I like Craig. He's a little he's blunt, but he's funny though.
Maybe I should be the British guy, and he should be the blunt American.
I thought.
What do you think?
I think you'd have a hard time filling his shoes, and he'd have a hard time filling your shoes. How about that?
No, what I mean is, the English are usually, polite. There's a certain demeanor if you're English that's kind of expected.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an old, maybe, idea.
Maybe, well, guys like Craig help that out. I think they help make that old, maybe a little bit.
Yeah. So let's see. Zilrin Rocha, do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Said, what about battleships that shoot straight at an attack or at a target that's over 100 miles away? No account for Earth curvature. That's not the case. So I will, and I'll drop in there you go, in the chat there. I put in a resource that has tons of information on different naval vessels all around the globe, including some from the United States. If you look at those, you can look at both modern and older weapons. And I was just poking around there, and I think if you look at the battleship main guns on the historical weapons, the 16-inch/50 Mark 7, which is on the Iowa class and the Montana class battleships, they have you can get the actual firing solution instructions that came with it to instruct the people that were generating the solutions, and it includes curvature of the Earth calculations. So that is manual, right? So newer stuff would all be in software, so you can't just look at the source code. Even if you could look at the source code, unless you're a software engineer, you wouldn't understand it, right? So
kind of like refraction for looking through, seeing over all those humps of water that are supposed to be there. Refraction will take care of that. Well, in this case, software.
It's in the table. So the point is, Zilrin, whether you believe that they're using it or not, it's at least in the documentation that they are supposed to use it.
Here's a good comment.
Yeah.
Veronica No watches the rotation last night as the moon and stars went on their course. That's the exact point that I think is so important. And Red's rhetoric, I'm changing subjects a little bit. Red's rhetoric, it seemed like he was getting frustrated because he's saying, you're saying the same thing as me. And I'm like, because he says, oh, it could be the Earth turning and the stars stationary. I'm like, yeah, it could. But my camera never moved when I do the star trails. You know what I'm saying? The evidence, and so he's like, well, we've got these measurements and we've proved with physical measurements that it's, or not, maybe not measurements. I can't remember his exact words. I'm not trying to quote him, but we've proved that it's the stars that are the sky that's stationary, that it's the Earth that's turning. And I'm like, well, what about my observation?
That's a simplification too.
But what about the observation that we all make about the ground not moving? That can't be discounted. I mean, it could be discounted, but
our senses appropriate instruments to measure whether or not the ground is moving or not.
It's just an observation. I'm not saying they're precise measure takers.
And I think, and he went over, you build cabinets. You would not build a cabinet by using just your senses. That cabinet
I would use a tape measure.
It would be limited if you don't have a precise measurement, right? You could,
but
tape measures, people did build things, but they weren't nearly as nice as they are now.
Like
I've seen your work,
marking lines
Your
no,
stuff,
I get you, and that's like FTFE.
Thing,
Craig had a good one too. He took his glasses off and he said, "Why does the world appear to be?" I can't make his accent. I can't do it. But he said, "Why does the world appear to be blurry? Is that what the world is? Is it blurry?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point." Yeah. But it is a huge observation that we make that the world's not moving. So is it 7 billion people that observe something that's incorrect, or is it that they just
I think it's 7 billion people that don't have the instrument built into their body to observe it.
I agree but is that instrument correct? It should be in kind of in the spotlight. It should be. It's like
an instrument that measures rotation. Is it correct?
Or just move,
And that's a valid question. And that's why you test it multiple times. You repeat it, you use other methods. Yep. So the ring laser gyroscope is not the only method that has measured Earth's rotation.
That's just everyone's favorite because then they get to say, thanks, Bob.
Yeah, and I don't generally bring up Bob's measurement. I mean, it's poking him in the eye, which is a lot of fun, but it's not a peer-reviewed scientific publication. No, it's just not very precise. He didn't publish anything.
It was just in the perfect place at the perfect time to be used over and over again.
He bumbled on camera is what he did. But
isn't that on Netflix or something that you actually can find that? Okay.
And before it was somewhere else before it was on Netflix. I paid to watch it, I think on Amazon before it was on. It was $2, $3. Mm-hmm. So I don't look at his. There's much more precise measurements, much larger optical rotation devices that have been used. I have a list of 14 of them on my website.
Mm-hmm. 14 that all go against my simple observation of. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
It's something that until 5 years ago I would have been like agreeing with you, being like, we have all of this equipment to measure this, and you guys are going to ignore this all? And like the actual, like, I'll get an image in the background here of what I'm talking about. I'm only pointing this out like over and over and over and can't let it go. Like, I can't let it go because it's so important, I think. Because we are people that, like, everything that happens, we see it from our eyes, we smell it through our nose, we hear it through our ears, and we feel it with our hands and our feet, and you know what I'm saying. We have all these amazing measuring tools of our bodies, and I agree they're, if depending on if you want precision, it's probably not best to use these if you want to have some precision. So I agree that if the ring laser gyro, I just keep using that for an example because it's a simple one, I think. If that picks up rotation, or is that actually, how can it pick up rotation? It would have to know what the full rotation was in order to pick up rotation. Isn't that just picking up movement? Maybe you can clear my head.
So, all right, the important thing about the ring laser gyroscope, or any optical gyroscope, because there's different kinds, is that the speed of light is constant. It's not like sound, right? So if you're in if you throw a ball, right, outside, if you're running forward, I don't know. The thing is, it doesn't quite work like that. It's not like it adds together your movement. So if you're moving at 10 miles an hour and then you send light out, it doesn't move at 10 at the speed of light plus 10. It moves at the speed of light.
Yeah, but
so when you have a ring and you send the light around it in both directions at the same time, right? And you rotate it while the light is going through it, one of the paths gets longer and one of them gets shorter.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes back, rejoin them, there's an interference. You can see that
you
pattern
get like a wave that's not matching.
Yeah. So that was tested by Michelson Gale. That was one of the big early ones. It's called the Sagnac effect. I don't know. It's in Not American. I only speak American. But people can doubt that it works, but they use them in airplanes, not just to measure the rotation of the Earth, but to measure the rotation of the plane. So it works. If it didn't work, then they wouldn't use them in planes, because the key about these things is they do it so that they don't crash.
I agree.
You remember the 737s a couple years ago? The couple of them crashed in a short time.
Yeah,
and that's because and this was a software bug, and I write software, and we talked about it at work. I'm like,
you guys hear that? Toon wrote the software that made the planes crash. No, I'm just kidding.
I said I could never write the software for that, thinking like, oh, what if I made a mistake? But there's on either side of the plane, there was a thing to measure based on the wind. It was just a flap on either side, sort of, that stuck out, and it would measure the amount of pressure on top and bottom to identify the pitch of the plane. And there were just two of them. So when one of them fails, which one do you trust?
The one that's not failed, I hope.
How do you know which one's failing?
Know.
So what happened is, it was failing. It picked the wrong one to trust. It picked the failing one, and the plane was going down, but it thought it was tipping up, like it was going to stall. So the pilots are pulling back on the yoke, but the software said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to let you do that.
Oh, man.
You're going to stall the plane.
Oh, that's awful.
So, yeah.
So the plane thought they were trying to go like this, and they were actually trying to pull it back up. Or something like that.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
So that's, and when you are going to do things and you need a fail-safe, you always want to have an odd number of things. And then you go with the majority, or sometimes you even need a quorum, depending on what you're talking about. But inside of a big commercial airplane, there are 3 ring laser gyroscopes. Not 2, 3. Yeah. So if one of them is an error, you'll know because the other 2 agree.
Unless 2 happen to go out at once.
And then it's possible, but if 2 go out at once, they both have to go out at the same amount, right? So they're both saying we're rotating. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that, the likelihood of that is then you just plug it into your equation. Is that risk something we're willing to accept?
So actually, Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
That
I'll go
two
after you.
two ring laser gyroscopes can malfunction at the same time with the same number. That
That would be,
very
yeah, not very
yeah
or not very likely.
yeah.
Um, I sort of just lost my train of thought about what I
So
was.
sorry.
Oh, here's what it was. If we really like, I'm trying to I'm trying to understand this ring laser gyroscope because I know the Earth ain't moving, so I really got to understand what we're measuring here. Um, if if we were actually going to think about it, it's not measuring. It's measuring a microsecond. If it was one measurement, but it's taking however many thousands probably in a second, like or however many times it's sending light. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So the
Like,
movement it's picking up is very small, for because you send the light and like you were saying you turn and you get a different. This one's coming in after now, and as you turn, but it's more of a constant, like a reading that you'd get from a equipment from a plane like that has to be like constantly running in order to, to be, if you had it going every 5 seconds, that's just not going to help you. You could be a little bit late on your
yeah,
turns
yeah.
and everything.
And
So
it's amazingly quick.
yeah,
And for its size, it's very good too, because the original Michelson-Gale experiment was multiple kilometers. It was just
Okay.
one large rectangle with mirrors on the corners,
okay,
multiple kilometers large, and so the precision that they've been able to improve is pretty
going
good.
through the air and everything that
I
slow
don't.
it
Re-
down,
I
speed it
think
up, and
no. I think they put it inside. I don't remember. I'd have to look to see if they had it inside tubes, pipes. But the larger one. So on my website, I put the link in there, mctoon.net/spin. Some of those measurements are in abandoned mines,
okay,
and they set up these rings in the mines. So first they're deep down, so movement of nominal shaking and things like that from vehicles driving
yeah,
around. You
yep.
don't get that because you get that in a building, but when you're 100 meters, 1,000 meters down, I don't know how much.
They want more precision there.
Yeah, so the shaking
Yeah.
is controlled. And they do those in pipes, and so some of those experiments that they've done, they have they're probably better said as a measurement than an experiment, but they put the pipe on the ground, and they have like these support structures all along. There's pictures of them you can see, and then they'll evacuate the air out of it to reduce the interference caused by air too. So it's really cool. They're not probably quite as large as the original Michelson-Gale, but they're much larger than a ring laser gyroscope. So their precision is extremely high.
Okay. What about? Could we talk about sonic booms for a minute? Just like it's something that's interesting to me because I see it as. I'm not saying it's a limitation of our ability or something. I'm saying it's a limitation that we've found of this physical reality in a certain way, and that is when you get going fast enough through air, you can catch up. Well, that's not a good way to put it.
You can match
you can
the
go
same
fast.
speed.
Yeah, you can match the same speed as the sound that you're making, basically, or you can even go a little bit ahead of, and actually way ahead of, if you're out of the air. But in order to have a sonic boom, you have to have a medium, right?
Yes.
Otherwise it would have to be, so like you wouldn't have a sonic boom in the water. I don't think. Maybe you would, but I don't think anything could move that fast through the water.
Yeah. Sound moves much quicker through water.
Like
And
way,
moving
like way
through
quick,
water.
faster.
Yeah, moving through water is a lot more difficult than moving through air. So yeah, the speed something would have to move through water. But you can see sound is pressure waves. So so when it goes from here to there, it goes this way, right? So like this.
Yep.
But there's also waves that go up and down, and you see that on the surface of water. And you live in Minnesota like I do.
Yep.
We've been on boats. And
Yep.
and you can go faster than the waves that go on the surface of the water of the the boat, right? So, but you could go the same speed. And if you went the same speed and were able to like match it really well, then
Like
on the shore, the waves would be the biggest on the shore.
and that's actually the best example of a pressure wave, I think, is a boat. Anybody knows that if you look out the side of the boat, you're going to see the water kind of pushing out as you move forward. That's the pressure. That's a pressure wave.
Yeah,
you know, you're making the. But there's not much pressure change in the water. I'm just saying that's kind of how it works though through the air. The air has to go around the vehicle, and
yeah.
So when you're going
so what's
really
the
fast,
problem with sonic booms?
I don't see a problem with them. I just see them to be where sound moves so a certain speed through air. I think the air is very important, but sound, you know, if you have different air, it'll probably travel faster or slower through thicker air or
yeah, there's
air, I guess.
Yeah, the speed of sound varies a bit based on pressure. It's
and so
faster in higher pressure.
Yep. So when we see those jets doing those shows or whatever, and they go down, they're you know right down here, and they're going the speed of sound. That's really hard to do, because look at our jets. They're pretty cool.
The plane, yeah, the airplane can do it. It's piloting it low is
dangerous.
A little more dangerous, yeah.
Yeah, and when, I mean, so when you have a sonic boom, all that is the pressure wave, and you're not gonna even hear a sonic boom if you're too far away from it. Like you have to, it'll be loudest probably.
Yeah.
But like being on the ground, but you're not ever gonna hear a sonic boom in the jet. You're kind of making the sonic boom. Like you only hear it out from the jet, right?
It's a good question.
Because you're actually that's why I'm saying it's a limitation, because let's say the pilot and all of a sudden he reaches that speed of sound, which is like through the air, and it, like you were saying, it's going to vary, it's going to change a little bit, but somewhere around like between 750 and 800 miles an hour. Yeah. You'll be it's interesting to me that the pilot, as you go a little faster maybe, so that the pilot's actually kind of ahead of that pressure wave, that he's piloting a jet that it in a way it makes no sense, but it's just reality. He's piloting a jet that's making a ton of sound, but he's not hearing anything other than the sound he hears inside the cockpit.
Yeah.
And he's going faster than the sound. He's ahead of the sound. He's making sound. Oh, I'm not wording this right. He's making sound go faster than the sound goes. He's making sound so the sound can't go faster.
I don't know what it's no different than being in a boat, like we said.
Mm-hmm. So that's through the air. But we've kind of found a similar thing when you're up pretty much out of the air. When there's almost no air, like where the ISS would be, or that we've found that there's another kind of, maybe not a limitation, that's probably not a good way to put it, but we can enter into a different type of place if we go do the same thing. If we just go faster and faster, we can reach a speed where things will actually just stay there. Like they'll stay in orbit is what we would call it. But they don't fall back down. And I understand the explanation of it. Curvature. It needs curvature. It's like you got to have that curvature in order for that to work, right?
Yeah.
And so does every other body in space. Like the moon,
that's orbiting something. Yeah,
it has to orbit a spherical Earth, right? And so this is where it's an interesting topic to me, because this is one of those things where I see a different way of looking at it. I'm not saying I'm right, but I see a different way of looking at it that makes just as much sense as me saying that the Earth is stationary. there might be things that I don't know about orbits, or like how there's a lot of things I wonder about how that Elon Musk would know and that NASA would know about entering into a certain orbit and knowing what's going to be happening over time with the location of where like a satellite or whatever is going to be. They've obviously figured that all out with the space station. They have a lot of knowledge about, and you probably understand a lot more than I do about it. But what's interesting to me is the way I'm looking at it is up there, everything that's not in the thick molasses air that we live in is moving at an incredible speed above us. There's a world above us that is just ripping. It's going fast.
Yeah.
And that's where Reds would say, well, that could be stationary and we could be moving. Now, okay, sure. Either way, but what I'm saying is that world up there is going fast.
Yeah. So like
Real
rotation is absolute. When you rotate, there is a zero rotation and there is a positive rotation. But there is no absolute velocity. It's always in relation to something else. So
yes.
You can do things on what they call ECEF, Earth-centered, Earth-fixed coordinate system, and that's most geodesy uses that.
Okay.
So like the WGS84 ellipsoid is an ECEF ellipsoid, and and they have a latitude longitude. It's a three-dimensional coordinate system.
Does that have? Like that makes me think of like a ballistic trajectory of like a missile or something that we.
Well, missiles are not ballistic. Ballistic is free moving, not powered.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
Yeah.
So well, but like that SpaceX, they did their launch abort test where if the booster fails and then the Dragon.
So once the booster stops running, then it's ballistic
until it fires and takes off. Once it turns off those Super Dracos, that's ballistic, right?
Yeah, when there's no rockets going, no power, no propellers.
It's like coasting or whatever.
Yeah,
and that's like what Jeff Bezos is using. That he can do that for like 4 minutes or something with that.
Yeah, they get the Vomit Comet is. It's got flaps and wings and stuff, so it can steer a little. But yeah, when you're ballistic, when you're inside of it, you don't feel a whole lot of acceleration. You're gonna be like your stomach goes up and you feel weird.
Yeah. I'd be vomiting. Yeah, that's what I would be doing. So that's interesting though. Continue on. I kind of cut you off there. What you were saying.
Yeah, well, just that rotation is absolute and velocity is not. That there is the ECEF based coordinate system, so Earth center, Earth fixed. So,
in other words, flattened, stationary, no rotation.
Not flat, not flat, but yes,
stationary and non-rotating.
You are saying stationary when you say ECEF,
and you'd be saying relative to everything on the ground.
So they say, well, Greenwich is where zero longitude passes. The equator is zero. The poles are 90. It's just a decision that people made. Let's put these here. Let's call them that. Let's put these numbers on it. You don't have to use degrees. You can use radians. But WGS84 has chosen.
And can you say what that was? Oh, he froze up for a second. That could very well be me too, but we'll see what happens. But whatever he was saying, EF, I'm sure he'll pop back in here.
My network went out for a second.
Oh, it's something that must be me. Or
no, it was me. I have a ping going, and it stopped.
So what was that Anna or acronym? It was
ECEF, Earth centered, Earth fixed.
I'm like an ECEF guy, I think. I'm just kidding.
Well, I suppose, but that doesn't dictate the shape. The shape is
No,
still
no, that it's just
independent of that.
it's just I totally get what you're saying. You're saying relative to the place where MCToon and Joe live, it's stationary, right? Is that what you're? I think that's what you're saying.
It dropped again for a second.
Oh,
Relative to where we live, is that what you were
relative
about
to where everybody in the chat and MCToon and Joe live, it's What was it?
ECEF.
Okay. Right. I mean, for all the purposes of everything from the ground, it would appear that way.
Yeah. Now
Yeah, good.
you can, and a lot of things are done when people say heliocentric, which isn't quite right, but they say heliocentric. That would be like a sun-centered coordinate system, right? So then you can say, well, let's define the sun to not be moving.
And then we would pretend that the sun's not moving.
And the Earth is rotating. But you can also then do, if you're doing larger scale, measurements and things, you would say, well, let's say that there is an absolute zero movement somewhere in the universe.
The ground.
We don't. So what sometimes they'll do is they'll say the most distant stars, because the most distant stars they appear to be fixed, but
to who?
To us, we cannot measure the most distant stars. We cannot measure that they are moving.
I could measure it in one night. They would move across the whole sky, wouldn't they?
What I'm saying is when you change the coordinate system to not
to be if we had the sun as stationary.
If you're trying to develop an
Oh, he lost his network again, I think. Did you guys know that this happened while I was on MCToon's channel? And then in the YouTube replay or whatever, it had me going for about like 3 minutes when we were trying to get back
my
together.
Gosh, I keep dropping.
MCToon, in the video where you had me on your channel and I dropped out or when you overheated or whatever, one of those times, and then when it came back and then I watched the video when I mirrored it, it's like it had a little glitch for a second.
Yeah.
And you think you're the worst rapper in the world? I think I'm the worst rapper.
Oh, was it when you were talking? I've had that happen. Yeah, where I'm talking to.
And it was just like skipping, and it was going like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you're trying to,
we were at the sun.
Yeah.
You were talking about that.
Trying to develop an idea for the entire universe.
Yeah.
Center or stationariness or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's difficult to
distance.
do and not something that I do or many people do at all. So
Vera Rubin was probably doing some of that.
That range of astronomical observations, they would potentially care about that. But I saw a couple questions here in the chat.
Yeah, let's go back to them. I'll highlight them if you know which one.
All right, so Veronica KNO said, "This is my thought, Red Pill. If we're flying through space, how do we have the same stars for thousands of years?"
That's a good question.
It's a great question. So we do see the same stars. We are with the stars. So say you're on the freeway and there's a bunch of cars with you and you're all kind of going about the same speed. Over time, you'll see them moving forward and backwards and stuff, right? But you're all moving at 60 miles per hour together. If you're moving together, then the relative positioning between them matters. So we do see the stars move. And I put in the chat mctoon.net/Polaris, which is about 150 years of observation of Polaris moving. It moves about a degree in 150 years. So in 1850, Polaris was 1.5 degrees from the center of the celestial pole, and now it's about 1/2 a degree from the center of the celestial pole.
And it moves every night too. It has like a
Well,
little.
it does circles, but it's
That's
positioned
because the
relative
center
to
of
the
rotation is next to it a little bit.
yeah.
Right? Yeah, yeah,
So people say it's the center. It's not. It's half a degree off, which
yeah.
you don't need a very precise instrument to be able to measure that.
You can see that on Stellarium if you just. I actually.
Oh, fast forward it.
Yeah, if you just go
Yeah.
over one day and you just go like this, you can see that the center of rotation is not exactly at Polaris.
Yes, yeah,
But-
and
But it is pretty close.
the pictures. So like Eric Dubé, who you know is a pagan, right? He has a picture on one of his, I think, his 200 proofs. It says Polaris is perfectly in the center and it never moves. But the picture that he has shows Polaris in about a half circle,
Like a little
around
arc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
the
Eric,
yeah.
You didn't even look at your picture.
Like a time lapse of
and-
like a Star Trails, and it's not quite the center. Actually, you can see that if I never played it, but you can see that in any of the Star Trails that it's not exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he said that. I don't know why he didn't bother to check. And again, that type of trickery works for people that are unwilling to investigate and do their own research. Because as soon as you do your own research, you find out that Polaris has moved over time. It's not perfectly fixed.
And as far as time, like I know that FTFE said, well, I think he said 7 arc seconds a year, and then he said 3 arc seconds a year.
I think it was 0.3 is, if I
0.3.
remember what he said. I don't know offhand.
I heard a couple
think
numbers from him. I heard a couple, but
I did math myself, and that's, I did
but
my
he
own
said that
investigation.
Vega, like in 12,000 years or something, that Vega would be the North Star, and I'm like thinking to myself, the way I see this world, I don't see this world being even 12,000 years old. I mean, I don't know, obviously, but
Yeah, so
to me,
if you take the current movement of
Okay.
of everything and project forward and back, and just taking the assumption that things will continue to exist in the future, that I think that's how he's getting how that has gotten. I haven't looked into that myself. I don't
think
I don't
some of
need,
that would
I don't
be-
care what happens 20,000 years from now.
Me too.
I can just look that 150 years ago Polaris was in a different spot, and not just Polaris. There's lots of stars.
but it's not. I guess, like, it doesn't seem to me like Polaris. Like, if there was a different star, what star would it be? Like when
It's
if we're
whichever's
talking about.
whatever's
go ahead.
bright and close to the middle, right? So there are more
Yeah.
stars, the other stars than Polaris, closer to the middle, but we can't
But
see
they're
them with our
dim.
naked eye. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
much too dim. So if you really wanted to get nitpicky, right, you could just focus and find whatever's the faint one that's close. But
Here, we'll zoom in on Polaris here on my. See how Polaris is actually.
Yeah, it's
see
a
how
little arc.
It's not the center; it's going around the center. But there's interesting. I have some footage, right? Not Star Trails or whatever, but with better footage through my telescope. I have a 8-inch Dobsonian mirror, just a mirror reflector or whatever. And I put a Sony Handycam on that and zoom in a little bit and adjust the light. And there's a little star next to Polaris, and I think it's like Polaris AB or something. I don't know exactly what it's called. But it goes around Polaris, which is kind of cool to watch. Like when you're zoomed in, you can see, you could probably tell what time it was by that little star. Almost like a 24-hour hand.
That's one way that people can know what time it is.
Yeah.
If you
At night,
if you have
because
a
you can't
naut-
see it during the day.
yeah, if you have a nautical almanac, you can for the especially if it's a current one, right? If it's an older one, it'll be harder, but you can find out what time it is. Because the nautical almanacs are all based on Greenwich again. So you look at it says, well, at midnight in Greenwich, this is where everything is, and so then you say, well, all right, well, I'm at this latitude, this longitude, this longitude is what is going to change the rotation. I'll see this, and then I know it's 2 a.m. instead of midnight. So, you do your math, you can figure it out.
So Carlos has a good question here. One
Yes.
question: in daytime, I see the sun and moon. At night, I'm only able to see the moon. Why?
So I wrote that one down too. So do you know Carlos? Like,
Yeah, he's been on the channel here for.
okay, so
comes to
that's
my channel a
not
lot.
that's not a trying to be silly question.
No, it's not. It's
Okay.
not.
Because this is pretty simple. Because the sun is up during the day, the sun makes the day. Because it's
And
so
that's
bright.
yeah, pretty much. But
That's why I
there-
asked the control question, because it's a little silly, I think.
No, I think maybe the way that it's worded, he might. But I think I know what he's saying. I think he's talking about the sun and moon during the day too.
Yeah, you can see
Which-
the moon during the day.
And
Because
and
the moon does not make night. Night is made by the absence of the sun.
yeah, it's darkness, which is a thing, right? If you didn't have a light, this is an interesting topic here that I wouldn't mind getting into. Like in the biblical creation story, there was God created the heavens and the earth was formless and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. So there was darkness. There was actually on the face of the abyss, whatever that would mean. There was darkness there. And it's interesting because the next thing that happens is he says, let there be light. And then there was light. So before he said, let there be light, there was nothing to see. I mean, there was the heavens and the earth, but it was dark. And then he said, let there be light. And then, so whatever that means, there was light. But then it was 3 days later that he created the sun, moon, and stars to give light upon the earth for signs, seasons, days, and years, and all that. So it's interesting. I've always wondered, what is that actually talking about? Like, because if he created the light before he created the sun, moon, and stars, what is that?
Yeah. Well, if you can, if you can think from somebody else's perspective, that's a good sign, right? So if you put on your hat that is a long or an old Earth, right, hat,
Okay.
you say, well, the light would be other stars before the sun formed. So,
Or I see what you're saying, but if he didn't create the stars first, if he created the light first on day one, yeah, it's just something to think about. Personally, what it makes me think of is like the colors we get at sunset and stuff like that. And it seems like looking at drone footage and stuff, it seems like there's light that follows around the sun, which would make sense because the sun is a big light. But it seems like all those colors and everything we get seems to be maybe like what you'd have in like like noble gases, like what you'd have in a fluorescent light bulb, kind of something like that kind of.
yeah, it doesn't match spectroscopy though.
Which I know nothing about. So
Yeah, so spectroscopy, it's hard to say. Spectroscopy is when light passes through things, certain wavelengths of light is absorbed or are allowed to pass through, and different materials have different properties, and they use this in labs to identify what materials are in something.
my brother actually makes. Makes software, and he has like a rendering software that he's made, and so he knows all about like surfaces and the reflections and light absorbing, like black or whatever, and because he has to make it look real in images, and it's pretty cool. But I know nothing about all of that, but I can, I'm the layman about it, but I can understand how.
Yeah. So anyway,
yeah.
let's move on to that because there's some other good questions here.
Okay.
Another is Red Pill Paul serious?
What's
He's a mod.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm sure he's serious.
Okay. If the sun was 93 million miles away, wouldn't all of space be lit up?
Oh yeah, that was one that I put. I put it up there for a while and then I took it down. Um,
I
I'll
bet
give
you
my
can
take on
explain
this one.
that. You can probably explain it. It's
I'll give my take on this one. Um, well, it goes back to the subject of darkness. If you have darkness and nothing, you could have the sun there, and there would be just the ball of the sun or whatever. Just the sun itself would be the only light you see. If there's nothing, and in a place of darkness, what would it? Because the light would have to it would have to hit something for you to be able to see it. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
And so there's supposedly planets, and there's a space station, and there's satellites. And when the light hits them, that's when we see them the best.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. So, Paul, you can test this yourself. Get yourself a laser pointer. Go out at night in the backyard or somewhere, and you stand, and shine the laser at a building, right? And have somebody stand to the side of you as that's happening. Do they see the laser as it passes from the laser pointer to the building?
There'd be nothing for it to.
They don't see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there could be dust, right? Or fog. And then in that case, you'd see it. But if it's a clear night, or even better, if you were to build a vessel around it and pump out as much air as you can, you definitely wouldn't see anything unless you had some very sensitive instruments to, right? But the point is, you have to either be there to experience light yourself, right? Or you send a camera there, or it has to bounce off of something. So yes, space is lit up. There's lots of photons going in all sorts of different directions, but they're just not going to make their way to your eyes.
Yeah, and
the question
like the
also,
air, the air really has an effect on light, or on if you're trying to shine light through the air.
yeah,
you
if
can
it's
just
clean,
see the air. Yeah,
if it's clean, you won't see much. If it's
Yep.
dirty, you can
you'll
see it.
It'll make a
Yeah,
light
so
area. Yeah.
if you've ever watched a documentary where they have a table and they're doing laser experiments on the table, they'll squeeze dust intentionally, probably not the dust that was on my head from my kid, but into the air so you can see where the lasers are going and they can then position them.
I figured that out from my
Yeah.
friend. He was trying to figure out something on a carburetor, and he couldn't find. There was a leak or something, and he took a cigarette, and he blew the smoke into a air bottle, and then he used that to he put that into the fuel line or whatever, and you could see the little mist coming out, or the smoke
that's
coming
funny.
out. Yeah, and it worked. I was like, that's brilliant. I should have thought of that. I never would think of stuff like that. But so I just
But
wanted
let me
to.
just wrap that up.
Yep.
Even if the sun were small and local, the same thing would carry. You would not see the light as it passes through the air unless there's something that it's going to bounce off of to cause it to come to your eyes or your camera or whatever.
So here's we have a string of comments that we'll go through really quick because there was kind of a back and forth that is interesting. I do not believe in outer space. That's what Cindy Lou says. And then Veronica said, I agree, Cindy Lou. I think space is darkness, outer darkness. And so this might be a new concept for a lot of people. But and then Tim Brown said SpaceX is about to launch that SN10, I think.
Yeah, about 7 minutes, it looks like.
7 minutes. I don't see. Does SpaceX have a feed going, or are you looking at a different one?
I'm watching at Everyday Astronaut. Oh, they're down to about 3 minutes. I was behind on the.
Because we should probably watch that, huh?
Yeah, I'll put that in the chat there.
I wonder how to do that. Is the best way? Would I share my screen? Or wait, if I go like this, what happens? Nothing.
I'm not familiar with StreamYard.
I'm not either. Oh, there's me. Okay. Maybe I can, let's see here. I have to figure this out. Let's go back to where we were there. Okay. Oh, that ain't right. I didn't know I could do that. That's cool.
I'll get the. It's maybe better to get the actual from SpaceX. Here we go.
Are they? Do they have one up yet?
Yeah, I just pasted it there
Oh,
in
okay.
the chat. That's the one from SpaceX. That looks like it's closer. I don't know. Everyday astronaut. He sometimes he's been there himself and brought his own cameras.
Yeah,
But
he's got like a hotel room or something that's up high too. Like he can.
it looks like he might be there. But yeah, so
Let's see. So that's the. You know what? I don't know how.
2.5 minutes.
I don't even know how to do that. Let's see. Oh wait. Yeah, I have no idea how to do that. Because I can't when I go over your when I go like my cursor goes over the comment like right here. I guess I have no way to copy and paste that because it says
Oh.
show or hide. You know what I mean? I'll just
What if
I should
here? I'll send it to you in message. You can grab it there.
that would work.
I could share my screen.
Maybe we'll have to do that, but I can try this really quick and see if we. Because what do we got? 2 minutes left. I hope. I want to see this
Yeah,
thing
just-
land. Okay, let's see here. Now if I go,
All right. Bets in the chat. What do you think? Is it going to crash again,
yeah,
or is it
bets,
going to have a soft
bets
land?
in the chat.
We've
Okay,
had
I'm gonna
two-
go.
Two in a
off
row
screen.
that had
We should be able to
What's it-
see it.
rapid
second.
unscheduled
Oops.
disassembly.
Wrong screen. How do I do that? Which screen do I do? I don't remember how to do this. Okay, here we go. If I put that there, I'm hoping that you'll see it, but I have to move
There
this
it
out of
is.
the way. Yeah, sorry guys. There, I think you can see it now. And I'll go full screen. Hopefully, is it on your screen now? I hope it is.
Yeah, that looks good.
Good. Because I can't even see StreamYard. Yeah, it's any second.
One
So what do you
minute.
think, MCToon? What do you think? Is this good for is this what the people at Tower of Babel were doing?
I don't think so.
Do you think that the people, because you know what, one of the in Jasher, I don't know if you've ever read the book of Jasher. It's just interesting. It said that the people under King Nimrod or whatever that were building, they were building against God, and it was a sin and a transgression to them. And it said they had like three different kinds of people. The first wanted to ascend into heaven and fight against God. Yeah, here we go. It's going to be any second. Oh, they got the countdown. Is that accurate? I wonder.
Yeah. That's from SpaceX. So
Okay, yeah, it needs to go. Here we go. We'll watch it. Yeah, they said we will. I want to ascend into heaven and smite him with bows and spears or something. Here we go. And I wonder if audio. Can you guys hear this? Oh, abort.
oh no, that didn't go anywhere.
At least it didn't blow up yet. That's a good thing, right? Could you hear that audio when I had it on or not?
I did not. No.
Okay. That's one of the problems I have with the Now, if they don't defuel it right away, they could probably go
Well,
like-
they started the engines.
yeah, like a static fire, but they've done it before where like an hour later they've done another static fire. So like I'm not saying they planned that, but are they defueling it? I think they're, if you look right here, I think they're dumping out, or they're whatever, depressurizing. Maybe not though. That's what it almost looks like. I can't see it very good.
Yeah. Well,
Who knows? But yeah, the people that were building the Tower of Babel, they said, we will ascend into heaven and smite him or whatever, or fight him or whatever. And then the other ones said, we will ascend into heaven and place our own gods there and serve them. And I'm like, satellites? Like that just sound, I mean, it's
But
like a modern, you
are
know?
they serving the satellites? I don't know if that's quite the right.
No, I wouldn't say that they're serving them, but they're definitely serving us, right? Kind of, or whatever. Like, everyone that would use anything like internet or things like
Yeah.
that. But
all right, let me see here. You were reading a series of comments.
okay, so we're gonna go. How do I do this now? Let's see. I gotta find out what I'm doing here. Sorry, I'm not the computer guy. Okay, so now you can probably see my whole. Okay, so now we just gotta go to. Where was I before? Video? Oh, is that right? Okay, there. I think we're back to.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. So then, they were saying that they don't believe in outer space. They thought it was outer darkness. And I'm going back up to it. There were some interesting comments. Because there is something that might be an interesting way to look at it. Okay, so then Veronica No said another dimension. And let's see what we have. Cindy Lou said, I'm not sure if other dimensions are a physical space or if it is something more spiritual. And that's a good question, because that's kind of one of the questions that I ask myself lately is what does it mean to be a spirit, or to like when we would say there's spiritual warfare, what would that mean? Is that warfare that we'd be able to see with our eyes? Is it like that? Or is it more like, in a different realm that we aren't involved with? Or, what do you think?
I've read This Present Darkness. It's right there.
A video? Movie? Or what? Oh, I think we lost him for a second.
Right there.
This Present Darkness. So, I like thinking of it in different ways than it being a physical place that we explore. And I'm not saying it's not. We explore it, and everything like we talked about on your channel, it appears, and you say even more than appears, but it appears to have physics in that place. But I would like to point out, in order to go to that place, you have to be moving. Like,
you have to go fast.
You have to go real fast. So that's one of the first things that interests me, is that you can go up as high as you want, and you're never going to get to a place where you stay up. You have to be moving laterally, horizontally, parallel with the surface of the earth in order to stay. But you have to do it really, really fast. And I also notice that the stars do this at night. So they're doing that same kind of fast movement. And to me, I'm not saying it's the right direction or something like that. You know, the sun, it just sits there. It doesn't have construction pedestal holding it up to the ground. It just stays there. It just floats, right? And so I would think that maybe if you put something up there and fast enough, it would just maybe float. Just a thought. And I understand that you might disagree.
Yeah, float's not the right word, but yeah. I mean,
free fall, right? Free fall.
Well, if you get something into orbit, you can orbit. Now, if you keep going, you can move away.
Only if you go faster. It's a thing having to do with velocity, right?
Absolutely, yeah. But
directly related, I think, is what you said.
But it's all relative to something.
Relative to the Earth.
So if you were to be able to get to be halfway between the Earth and Mars, and then somehow be able to know which way would cause you to be absolutely still, well, the solar system would move along without you.
They do have like that concept with some I think
we've seen that animation.
I'm thinking of it's I can't remember what it's called right now, but they have isn't the Epic satellite in that spot between the Earth and the Sun where it's kind of almost like a balanced out. I can't remember what they call it. I'll think of it in a minute, but it's a place where you're not going to be. I don't
I went to a town in Wisconsin with this name, Lagrange.
Lagrange
The
point.
Lagrange
Yeah.
point. Yeah, there's I on the way back from Florida, a couple back in January, we stopped in a town called Lagrange, and
Nice.
'cause we needed gas, and I asked that, it was like 2 a.m.
It's a
and I
good
asked,
place to stop, right?
it was a little creepy. I asked the guy in the gas station, I'm like, oh, that's cool, your town, it has the same name as the Lagrange point. He's like,
Huh?
what's that? What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, lost on you.
Yeah. That Wisconsin, they got the Packers and everything over there, I guess. I don't know. There's a big rivalry I've heard, but probably not recent. Probably not too much rivalry lately.
It was Iowa.
Oh, Iowa. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Everyday Astronaut is from Iowa, I think. So they should know what the Lagrange point is.
I'm sure he does. So, all right, I saw Bill Whale.
Wheel. Yep.
Okay.
I always wondered, and it was a couple times that I said his name, and it was like, how do you say that? And then he said wheel like a wheel. And so I still did it wrong after that. I still called him the wrong one after that, and then I got corrected again. I was like, I'm sorry. Now I know it's wheel.
Because I've seen the OE get a long A sound as well. So all right, wheel. So he says, how does the Navy's railgun hit a target 100 miles away with a dumb, no guidance system on board projectile? Which the name actually for that is ballistic. Mach 7 solid steel bullet shaped projectile with fins, weight 25 pounds.
I'm trying to get it on the screen.
Something mile of curve. It does that because it calculates the ballistic projectile necessary for it.
And I'm still not able to find out where Bill's comment was. Sorry, Bill. Is it this one? Is this the one? This must be the one. I think we lost MCToon for a minute.
Right. Yeah, my network is tough today.
Yeah, it must be. So is this the right question though? How does the Navy's
railgun? That's the right question. Yeah, and it because it's a parabolic arc. If you look up the railgun, nowhere in the actual railgun documentation does it say that it actually fires straight. I've seen memes by flat earthers on Facebook that say it flies straight, but it does not fly straight according to their documentation. Maybe Billy, you could find their documentation, technical documentation. Yeah, it falls. They're
going to launch it.
Trajectory. Yes, they are.
Just
they
like
launch
you would
it at an angle
with a slingshot. If you were trying you'd hold a slingshot like this to shoot at a target that was 10 feet away. You'd aim right at it. But if you're trying to hit your neighbor's house, you're going to have to lob it over there.
Yeah, I do much more of my best work is with spud guns.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, those are fun. Those are.
I built one a little too big. I launched my friends and I launched a potato. We could not see it when it was still going up.
And your ring laser gyro instantly picked up more rotation. You propelled the Earth. I'm just kidding.
But then, so we joined together two chambers on the same barrel, and we launched one. It went very far, and we said, let's do another. So we did another, and we exploded the thing that I custom made that joined them together. I just got a little cut on my hand. Fortunately, it could have been worse.
So, I like what Salted Cedar said here. I like actual reality. That's what I like too. It's and I know it might be even like childish the way that I'm maybe putting it forth, like the Earth being stationary again. If I set my camera and it don't move, I don't move it, and then this is what I get. We all know that. I don't think anybody would argue, say, yeah, that's obvious. But there's two ways of looking at it. One is that, because I'll just share this, my dad, I showed him this Star Trails, and I said, what is moving in this image? Because it wasn't my camera. And he's like, that's the Earth rotating. And I'm like,
you don't have enough information. You don't have enough information with that one thing.
Well, but we do, though. We do. If we know that my camera didn't move, I'm saying. That means the sky turns.
but you'd need a secondary measurement to confirm whether or not your camera was moving, or if
But
if
I
the
just
Earth
told you
was
it wasn't. It didn't move the whole time.
just telling me, right? Is the
I know.
Earth?
I'm
But
patronizing you.
all measurements, right, are going to contradict that. But here's the thing:
Okay.
this observation alone doesn't tell us enough. But you go to the southern hemisphere, you get the same thing, looking due south.
Yep.
That confirms alone that the Earth cannot be flat because there's
Hold
no
on.
geometry. I'll just wait. There's no geometry that allows a single
Yep.
celestial pole to the south and to the north at the same time.
Exactly. Just the same as there's no geometry that you can have a center of rotation and circular stars going around unless you're not directly below that center of rotation, right? You'd get an ellipse, like you were saying on your channel.
Yeah, you're kind of contradicting yourself there, but good. Do go on.
No, I'm not. I am going on. So your suggestion was take a big piece of cardboard or something big and put it on a ceiling fan and try to track a place on it.
Yeah, you don't need actually the.
But that's exactly
cardboard.
the point. That's the whole point, is that you're thinking kind of a big dome or whatever, the firmament or whatever, the stars, you're thinking of them going like this, like like they have like a drive motor at the center or something, and it's this big carousel turning. No, that's so you're kind of able to point out the difference there is that I'm not, when you're in Florida and you look at the center of rotation, or Polaris, we'll just call it, in the north, you look at Polaris, all the stars are doing a circle around Polaris. I don't care where you are in the north, that's what you're going to see.
Yeah.
And so how is that possible if it's a flat turning thing? It's not possible if it's a flat turning thing. That's why I'm saying the stars are, there's something angelic, and they're actually flying. And I don't necessarily think it's something that you would see the same as I would see it unless we were in the exact same place looking at it at the same time. I think we lost him again. Oh, there he's back.
I popped again, man.
So, how far did I get? Did I get to the... I don't see it as a physical plate turning.
Yeah. So what you've done, though, and I don't know if your audience is going to be upset at you, though, is you have falsified the idea of a dome and the lights embedded in the dome.
Well, I don't... Yeah. They can maybe be offended.
They're coming for you.
I don't think there's there's anything embedded in a dome. I don't. If they were coming for me, they would already come for me. Like I'm always saying something that everybody's like, "What are you talking about?" Like, you're not a truther, and I'm like, I'm just trying to learn the truth.
A truther takes the truth.
Yeah.
Regardless of what your pre-idea was.
Yeah, or is.
Yeah.
Like, if you still think you're living on a spinning ball, I have news for you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm only teasing MCToon because he's on my channel and it's fun.
So I have a question. There's a question from Thy Messenger, who I've seen around before, who's asking which government agency is paying me. So now my employer does have some customers that are government agencies. I write email filtering software. So it's not a direct payment from the city of whatever or the state of whatever. But Thy Messenger, if you know of any government agency that's looking to pay me to do these videos, can you hook a brother up? Because, I want to build a deck on the front of the house this summer, and I just don't quite have the cash. So, I could use it. So send me.
I'm your guy. I'm the deck guy. I'm just kidding.
I need the post put in the ground. That's what I don't trust myself to do.
So I hear that that whole story. I hear that how our Planer Walk says it a lot. I think I don't know if I'm subscribed to his channel, but I know who he is. But he says that every once in a while. He's like, yeah, my paycheck from NASA, I won't get it if I say this or that. He's joking, obviously. And I think we lost him again, guys.
What? Sorry, what did Planar Walk say?
Oh, just the idea of like our NASA paychecks they won't come if we talk about too much stuff, on the.
We
on
joke about that a lot.
Yeah.
It's. And I did over 2 years ago. I invented a fake thing, and intentionally leaked it through both Planar Walk and Soundly.
Okay.
That there was some sort of a memo with updated pricing. It's
up
on the wall.
Look at this. DITRH knows it. He says, if you let Joe build your deck, it'll be flat and level, he said.
Oh, how you doing, Dave?
DITRH is the bomb.
He's kind of, he never answers me. Dave,
he's a busy guy.
We need to debate, Dave. Come on. Modern day debate, Dave.
What'd be good is if you let DITRH on your channel and just let him talk and tell your listeners the truth.
I would let him on, but I'm going to challenge what he says.
Well, and then here's another thing. DITRH thinks that a little differently than I do about that darkness up there. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to put words in someone's mouth or thoughts in their head or whatever, but I love DITRH's videos, even if I don't agree with everything that's in them. But yeah, he does a lot of interviews, which and I think he's good at making people think.
Yeah. So Dave, my email address, MCToon@MCToon.net. Let's set it up.
MCToon's a nice guy. That's why I have him on. I'm having him on my channel. But no, out of all the the I don't know even what to call it. There's like these cliques. There's like the globe guys, and then there's like the flat people, and they're like, let's do this, so let's have a debate, and we've been doing this for 5 years, right? Like different YouTube channels have been debating this topic. This is where we can get interesting, and I know that I don't want to take up your whole day because you've got things that you do, family, all that, and we've been going, I think, for about an hour and a half. So let me know if however that goes. But one thing that's interesting is if we were to talk about why are there thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and that's my number that I came up with in my head, but why are there so many people today that are, first of all, just like out of nowhere, they say, no, there's a dome. Like people that probably don't even read the Bible, and they just say, oh, there's a dome. It's an enclosed. Because there's a lot of...
It's because somebody else said it. But nobody's ever... this. Everybody watching knows this. Nobody's ever gone to the dome and touched it and measured it and tested it and brought back a piece of it to analyze. Nobody. It's just conjecture. It says firmament in the Bible. We think firmament means dome, therefore it's a dome, but the Hebrew might disagree.
So this is interesting. The Book of Enoch, I've only heard you comment or seen you comment about it once, and it was that it's not that old of a book you thought, or something like that. And I was like, I can't, like, I got no information to give you on that. It's the content in it that is amazing to me. But Hoaxbusters asked me if I can block or unblock Helmet B. I'll look into it. I will look into it.
Is it the Helmet B that was on my channel last night?
I don't know, actually.
Was it First Colossians something?
Helmet B. It does look a little familiar, but I actually don't have that many people blocked on my channel. I have maybe like 50 people or something like that. I don't like blocking anybody, but that's one thing that recently or lately I've seen a lot of nasty comments, and some of them people just aren't going to be seen on my channel commenting, because that's not what I'm, like, you could put it this way. Does MCToon totally thinks that I'm wrong about most of the things I talk about, I'm sure.
I
But
think you're more right than any other flat earther.
okay.
I think you are leading the way.
But as far as we have an opposing view, but you can see how MCToon he's not here like cussing at me or telling me I'm stupid, and I'm not the same to him. I'm not doing that to him because that's not what truth is. If someone wants the truth, they're going to just keep talking about, keep trying to learn things that they didn't know, and talking to other people and things. It doesn't involve you're smarter than me. And I know it's fun to have like dumpster fires or whatever you want to call it. That's fun, but it really is more productive, I think, in my opinion, to actually just talk about these things. But I was going, since MCToon seems to have locked up again. There he is.
You know what? I just figured it out.
What? You're on your hotspot or something?
I was on VPN.
Okay. So yeah, no, I just enjoy how you and I are able to have a conversation with totally opposing views, totally opposing, but you're respectful. I'm respectful. I'm just saying, yeah. But let's see here.
There he is. First Chronicles 4:10. Jabaz.
Yeah.
He was in my chat last night. I haven't seen him that I can recall before.
Okay.
I thought he was fine. I don't know why he would be blocked, but he's not blocked on mine. I didn't have a reason to block him.
So the firmament, the flat earthers, I've heard a lot of them say like let's straighten out the biblical understanding, or I can't say biblical, but Enoch's understanding of a lot about what the firmament is or isn't is found in just 5 verses in the book of Enoch, chapter 18. And it talks about the winds. Should I read it quick? It's just 5 verses.
Okay.
So this is Enoch, chapter 18. I saw the treasuries of all the winds. I saw how he had furnished with them the whole creation and the firm foundations of the earth. There's one thing. We know what the firm foundations of the earth are. The 4 winds. Verse 2 says, and I saw the cornerstone of the earth. I saw the 4 winds which bear the earth and the firmament of the heaven. I saw how the winds stretch out the vaults of heaven and have their station between heaven and earth. These are the pillars of the heaven. The 4 winds. I saw the winds of heaven which turn and bring the circumference of the sun and all the stars to their setting. I saw the winds on the earth carrying the clouds. I saw the paths of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth the firmament of heaven above. So that doesn't necessarily tell us what the firmament is, but it's the 4 winds, which to me is like the air or the atmosphere or whatever. That's what God furnished the whole creation with. And it says right there that it's and the firm foundations of the earth. So a lot of these biblical cosmology images that we see, like if we Google imaged Hebrew cosmology, we would get that picture we've all seen a lot. And I don't think that picture is correct because it's showing like some tooth-like things down at the bottom of the earth.
Yeah.
And it's telling them the pillars of the earth. And I'm like, the pillars of the earth is literally the air. That's the 4 winds. That's what it is. That's according to Enoch. That's what I believe. But,
yeah. Well, and there's Enoch is not canon for a reason.
Kind of like Second Esdras is not canon for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, the canon the canon was done for a reason, and the books are in there not for reasons. And Enoch is one of the first things I did when somebody suggested I read Enoch, and I did read it, was look up the history of it and when it was written and who wrote it and all that, and it's not written by Enoch.
Well, and that's
and it's written. They think it's written in 2 different languages, and it's definitely part of it is written AD, part of it was written BC by
And are you talking
very
about
different
one?
authors.
Are you talking about one Enoch or all of them? Because
There's like
three of
5
them.
kind of sections or something like that. I don't know.
Well, there's
Offhand.
one Enoch which most people give that credibility, I guess. But there's Enoch, or 2 and 3 Enoch, that where it has. I don't think it's Enoch that wrote those myself, but it's the content in the Book of Enoch that's interesting to me. Did you know that this is something that might interest you? In Revelation, John sees something. John sees a space station in Revelation, and you're like, what? Are you crazy? But Enoch and John reveal that, not me. I can explain it to you really quick. It's kind of weird, but it's kind of weird. This same chapter in the Book of Enoch that we were just reading about the winds in, he went to space, and actually over on your channel, Team Skeptic knew that, and I was like, that's really perceptive of someone.
He came from a pretty strong literalist family, and I think
he said he used to be Christian,
I
and
think his brother and his dad and family are still of that tradition.
Okay, that's interesting, just because I've never met anyone that actually comprehended where Enoch went, because a lot of people are like, no, they don't really know what this is talking about. But in this chapter, he goes and he sees this deep abyss and all this fire, and he goes to a place that had no firmament above it and no firmly founded earth beneath it. So why would he say there was no earth? He wouldn't say there was no earth if there was no earth, but he said there was no firmly founded earth. So to me, that would appear like maybe there was a moving earth. It wasn't firmly founded, but he sees 7.
I don't know.
Oh, go ahead.
If you do a lot of squats, you're gonna have firm parts of you.
True.
And they move.
And well. So then he's in this place, and there was no water upon it, no birds, and it was a waste and horrible place, right? And what does he see there? He sees 7 stars. And what does he say about them? He says, I saw 7 stars like great burning mountains. So I'm like, that kind of stuck in my head, the great burning mountains. Why is he calling stars great burning mountains? And then it's 3 chapters later, he does the same exact thing. He says, I saw 7 stars of the heaven bound together in it, like bound. And then he said, like great mountains burning with fire. I'm like, okay, so he's calling stars great mountains burning with fire. And then it caught my attention in Revelation. So this would be John, 2,000 years ago, wrote the book of Revelation. So it wouldn't, not really related with what Enoch was talking about. But John says he went to a place in the spirit, and there was 7 mountains there. I don't know if you're familiar, in Revelation 17. And it's talking about the beast, and it's talking about the mystery Babylon, the mother of all harlots. John saw all that stuff in the spirit, because an angel came over to him and said, I'll show you the mystery or whatever, and he took him away in the spirit. And to me, that's like maybe out of his body. I don't know. But it does bring up the question, is space just a spiritual place that men are climbing into? Just a thought. What are your thoughts? I don't know.
I look at Enoch the same as I look at other science fiction and fantasy books.
Okay, but as far as like in Revelation, where John goes and he sees all this mystery Babylon, and he's in the spirit, he sees 7 mountains, and then he said, then he saw an 8th one, and he said that was the beast that was and is not, and goeth into perdition or whatever. And I'm looking up at the sky going, there's 7 planets or whatever, stars that transgressed, because they do something different than all the other stars.
Yeah.
All the other stars are more like fixed together, and then these planets do their retrograde motion. They're all over the place, and so I'm like, if those were 7 mountains burning with fire, and what would the space station be? It would be the 8th one, right? Like wandering star. It's a thought. I'm just bringing it up, but
it's all vague.
It is.
That's the problem.
So we should probably actually start wrapping it up. I was going to bring up the Revelation 12 sign. I don't know that I didn't think you were maybe familiar with it.
I mean, I've read it, but yeah, not recently. So,
What's
your favorite? What's your favorite band?
My favorite band. That's a hard one.
Well, give me a couple. I mean, it doesn't have to be your peak favorite.
I'm trying to think.
How about that you've seen?
That I've seen?
What was a great show?
Oh, a great
show. You said you saw King's X.
I did see King's X at the Mirage one time. Mirage. And I think that was right after it was right when they were doing that like album that I didn't like very much. It was I can't remember what it was called.
Faith Up Love, Ear Candy.
It was after. It was a newer one. Faith of Love was awesome. I love that.
Yeah, that's good.
And even like Gretchen
Goes to Nebraska.
That's a good one too.
Out of the Silent Planet. I love like Over My Head.
And
such a good song.
Yeah, they're all good songs. I like King's X. I don't know. It brings me back when I listen to that. One of the best concerts I've ever been to is Scattered Few at New Union, and I'm not even kidding.
Oh, I never saw them.
Those guys are in concert. They were awesome. Like they're just so the way that they played, like they played together really good. Where there was a lot of places where they'd be jamming, they'd just stop, and it'd be like silent, and then you start picking it up, and I was like, they were just right on. It was exciting. But
which New Union?
That was like if you're going down, I can't even remember exactly where.
There's the one on North,
like Broadway and Central or University.
Fifth Central and Hennepin, right there north of the river.
Yeah,
and then they moved. Then they moved like 30 blocks north on Central for a while.
Yeah, it wasn't the one north. It was like right.
That was their first.
I think it's like Hennepin and
Hennepin and Fifth.
Central.
Hennepin, Fifth, and Central. It's all three. Intersect at that same weird intersection.
That's where it was.
There's a White Castle there.
Now there's another concert I went to years before, I think, or maybe around that time. It was not Ozzy Osbourne, but what band was he in?
Black Sabbath?
Black Sabbath, and it was Pantera. Black Sabbath and Pantera. That was wild. That was a wild show.
Was that? But that was not Ozzy. That was Dio.
No, it was Ozzy.
Oh, okay.
It was at the Target Center, I think, if I remember right. And everyone was like, smoking and whatever, and it was stinky in there.
Yeah,
and I didn't expect it, but Ozzy he was like against that. I didn't know that.
Really?
He's like, yeah. He's like, he told the crowd to put that out.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, I didn't expect him to say that.
That's cool.
And then
I've never
head off a bat or whatever. No, I'm just kidding.
I've never seen Ozzy. So I bet we must have been at some of the same shows at the New Union.
And I'm sure at some point
one of my favorites was Deliverance.
And I can't think of who that was.
I love Deliverance. It's one of my favorite bands.
Over the Rhine. Do you know Over the Rhine?
Oh, I love Over the Rhine.
I went at Cornerstone. That was my favorite show at Cornerstone. It was Over the Rhine. It was awesome.
So my friend and I, because they played Cornerstone several years in a row, and we would we'd go to the heavy shows, and then we're like all sweaty with other people's sweat, and it's hot, and then we'll just go over and sit in the back of the gallery stage there and listen to Over the Rhine. And it's just...
It calms you down just right or whatever. She's got a voice. She's got a voice. That's all I know.
Yeah, like an angel.
Yep. That was a fun concert.
Yeah.
My brother took his car and I hitched a ride with him down there, and that was pretty wild.
You went once.
I just went once, yep.
Okay.
And I think I was, if I remember right, I was probably 16 when I went.
Who else was there? I'll see if I can place the year.
Oh, man,
Because I went
let's see.
like 20 years in a row.
Yeah,
Amazing. Being I'm only 13 years old, I know it's hard to believe.
yeah, it is. That's real hard to believe, but we know how you do your math, MCToon. So, no, I think I can't even remember it's like my mind forgot about a lot
Really?
of that. Now, there's bands that come up in my mind that are great. Are like something about oceans. The 77s.
Oh yeah.
Um,
One of my favorites too. Love them.
and what else? Well, then like another one is Adam Again. That's some awesome. That's some great
Yeah,
music.
that's good stuff.
Um,
Do you like DA, Daniel Amos?
I don't know it.
Okay.
I don't. Not
How about
familiar.
the choir?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of when I said oceans. Maybe the choir. Yeah,
Yeah.
the choir's good.
They're a little too like swirly for me. But then you take take the singers from the choir, Adam Again, Daniel Amos, and the 77s, and you get what?
I don't know.
You get the Lost Dogs.
The Lost Dogs. Okay, and
That's the
I didn't
singer
even know
from-
that.
Oh,
So that's got to be pretty good.
it's a super group, and my first time at Cornerstone was their first time playing. I didn't even go. I had no idea who they were.
Oh, really? One
Till
of
the
the
next
bands.
year. So
one of
good.
the-
70s. People, listen. Go listen to the Lost Dogs.
The
Fantastic
Lost
stuff.
Dogs. One of the
It's
bands that I
folksy
liked when I was younger.
Alternative, yeah. Yeah.
That I think it was our youth group at church went to some of these concerts. I think Pray for Rain. Remember them guys? It was pretty different music, but
I love Pray for Rain. Yeah.
the Goldie's Last Day and
Yeah.
but their first album, I bought their first CD or whatever it was.
Goldie's Last Day.
That one. It was like they had an album before that.
That
I
was
think.
their first one as Pray for Rain.
Okay.
Before that,
maybe
they
it
were
was that.
called Inside Out for a while, and they're like, oh, we have to change our name because there's another band named Inside Out, and so here's what we're gonna
Outside
be.
In. They should have just been Outside In.
Oh, so
I'm just kidding.
So they did a concert at the New Union. They're like, we're going to announce the new name of our band. And at the end of the show, they're like, people like, what's the new name of your band? And they're walking off stage. Like they point to this picture frame that had been on the stage the whole time. They go, right there. You get it? Like people like, no, like, oh, picture this.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And I go, and I, as soon as I say that, I'm like, there's already a band named Picture This. You didn't check?
Oh no.
So they never were. They
just
never. Kidding. Oh yeah, there's no Google.
I know.
There was already. So they never were. Picture This, and then Steve Hansen, who was the manager of the New Union, was then their manager, and did like a search to see who had been registered as Pray for Rain. Nobody had been registered with the copyright for Pray for Rain, so they chose Pray for Rain.
Oh, okay.
Turns out after the Goldie's Last Day came out, or maybe it was before, but right in that time frame when they're like, this is our new name and we're going to stick with it, there was a band in California that was called Pray for Rain, that had not registered themselves, but had done interstate commerce, and so they win.
So they had paperwork.
So they did all this stuff to be named Pray for Rain legally.
Then they were PFR or something,
They're
right?
PFR.
Maybe?
They had to go with PFR.
Yep.
And yeah, the band Pray for Rain they did the soundtrack for RoboCop 3. There you go.
Oh, really?
Watch
I didn't
watch
know that.
the end credits to RoboCop 3. Pray for Rain, not Joel Hansen's band, did that.
Too funny.
He did. So Joel Hansen went on to be to do music at Open Door.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a church in the Minneapolis area.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. I always think of back in those, like my brother was, I would end up dragging along with him to go down because he was in a band and he had friends in a band. I think they were called Real Space. There was I think there was another name and I can't think of it right now. But
Real Space.
Real Space. Yeah, it's a long time ago. But they had Eric and Carrie and Jer. Do you know who Steve Knight is? Steve Knight? No.
No.
I'm just saying names that I remember. Dan Scott. I can't think of
No.
really many more. I'll bet you if my brother was here, he'd be able to. He'd probably, maybe he even knows who you are. Who knows?
I
Who
mean,
knows?
you didn't. There's no internet in the day, right? So you'd
Yeah,
get in the car with your
it's
friends,
different.
you'd drive there, and then leave. You didn't meet and know people. You didn't get their phone number. If you
No,
got their phone number,
you'd recognize them, and you'd
Yeah,
be like,
yeah,
"Hey, I saw you at
exactly.
the last one," or whatever. Yeah.
yeah. So like, at Deliverance, what I think it was Deliverance, but it's certainly a few mosh pits I was in, and the guy that was eventually is the singer for Crimson Thorn.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't know if you know, the super heavy, big dude, like really big guy, and he'd be in the mosh pit and he'd just like give people
Slam
for him.
people.
He'd give a light push and you'd go
You go
flying into the
flying.
crowd. Like,
That's
ow.
good.
And I'd look back and it's him. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that's fine.
That's like, wow, that was like really far. No, that I never got into a mosh pit too much. I like watching them though. It was kind of crazy to watch.
Yeah.
Makes me think of I can't think of the names. Starflyer 59, I think.
Oh,
was
yeah.
it? Yeah, I
A
think
French
I bought
band.
their CD.
French band. This
Really?
the drummer. The drummer sits in the front and sings.
Okay. I don't. I just remember the music a little bit, but I
Yeah.
think I ended up buying their CD,
Yeah.
and I'm just trying to think of other ones. But there,
Hmm.
like, there's some good music going on in all those.
Oh yeah.
Bands.
Like so Deliverance. I said, White Cross is
Holy
very good.
Soldier or
Holy
something?
Soldier.
Holy
I've seen
Soldier.
several times.
Tourniquet.
Sacred Warrior Tourniquet. I love Tourniquet. They're still making stuff. Or we call them Tetiquette because everybody. The only original member is Ted
It's okay.
Kirkpatrick.
So you call them Tetiquette.
Yeah. Good stuff. There's so many, right? Exalt, Ex Sinner, Zion, Bloodgood.
Bloodgood. Yeah.
I've seen-
That was like, I remember the name Michael Bloodgood.
Yeah, he's the bassist. The singer is Les Carlson. I saw Striper at the New Union.
Striper.
Striper.
Okay.
That was a big deal.
They were like big time, right?
Yeah,
They were,
that was a
big
bit.
time.
So they kind of went away, and then they're like, yeah, we screwed up, people, and they came back. And this was like their tour after they came back.
Oh, okay.
Was
okay.
when they came to the New Union. Bride. You ever listen to Bride?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's good stuff. People.
Like, you like the
I
heavy
like
metal,
like heavy. Yeah.
like really heavy, like speed metal or something.
I like Deliverance is speed metal. That's
Okay.
one of my absolute favorites is Deliverance.
All I can think about right now is FTFE's intro and the that song or whatever. That's
that
pretty good intro. Like pretty good intro.
Yep, that's heavy. That's the growly grindcore vocals.
Okay.
So
yeah,
that would be like Mortification or Crimson Thorn, Crimson Moonlight.
Okay.
Yeah, Crimson is popular. Horde is another Christian band that's really really heavy.
Are there a lot
Paramecium.
of
Paramecium is good.
Christian bands still playing like that? Like back, because I haven't paid attention to any of it. But if you have, I'm just curious if you like. Are there just kind of the same things with younger kids going on?
Yeah, there are. The market has changed. Once the internet came along, it didn't. It
Now
changed.
they have YouTube channels.
Well,
right?
yeah, it changed festivals, right? So Cornerstone Festival used to be the place that if you wanted to see a band, you'd go to
You'd go
Cornerstone
there,
because
yeah.
they were going to be there. But then with the internet, these bands would get together and it would be 3-4 of the same bands and they'd do these tours together. And so then if there was somebody that's like, I like this particular style of music and oh, look, my 3 favorite bands are touring together, I'll just
Yeah.
go there instead of Cornerstone.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, no, that's
So
it was a
changed, yeah.
lot of fun growing up. Good music, I think music's important. I think it's
Yeah.
fun.
So people, listen to Deliverance. Go read their lyrics at least.
Deliverance. I'll check it out for sure. I like this. This is good. He said to have faith as a little child, not as an astrophysicist. That's pretty good. Um, so yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah.
I appreciate having you on for a conversation. We didn't get into too much, but it is fun to talk about some of these things.
It's good to talk.
So if you guys are not subscribed, I would subscribe to MCToon's channel. He's got some good debates, good flat Earth debates on his channel. Austin Whitsitt's been on your channel, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of people that have been on your channel. Probably every flat earther that I like.
I'm still waiting for Dave Weiss.
Oh man, well, you maybe who knows?
It looks like he popped in, made one comment, and then ran. So I don't know if he even heard me saying. But I emailed Mark. I emailed Mark Sargent.
Oh,
I'm like, Mark, we need to, because he does it Tuesdays. I do my things on Tuesdays, and he does his. And I'm like, Mark, he's 2 hour difference. So I'm like,
yep.
I'll do mine. Then come on yours, Mark. Let's go. And he stopped responding. So people, go tell Mark he needs to bring on MCToon.
Yeah, I don't know why people wouldn't, because honestly, like, I can tell you all day that I don't think we're on a spinning ball, and you know that I don't think we're on a spinning ball, and you might think that Earth rotates and that it's spherical, but that doesn't really make us like enemies. Like, there's like some weird, like, go to my channel and look at the comments, and you probably get the opposite, but the same thing. And it's like, why is there that part of it? There shouldn't be.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
and I typically, and the people commenting that are on the Globe on my
just
channel
straight rude. No, I'm just kidding.
No, there are
I'm kidding.
plenty that are rude, absolutely. And so when I started doing this, I'm like, I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
So I looked at, well, how do I want to act? So I'm a big fan of the podcast Unbelievable from Justin Brierley. If you don't know what that is, that he's a Christian in England, and he hosts debates between Christians and atheists, or Christians and Christians, or atheists and atheists, whatever.
Which are always good.
And so I've watched or listened to, they're not videos, I listened to many of those, said that's a good model. I looked at, if you know who Bobby Shafto is, he's a good model, how he interacts with people. I said, these are the people I want to be like. Rory is another one who's hasn't had a channel for a while. And so, and I saw Veronica said that's why I homeschool. We homeschool as well.
Which is awesome. I think that's it. I was homeschooled, not the whole time in school, but my parents gave me a choice. When I was in third grade and first grade, they asked me what I wanted. And so I think I went to first grade at public school, and second grade at home, and maybe part of third grade at public school. No, let's go back home. And then fourth grade, I think, in home, and then I went to regular school after that. But homeschool was awesome. It was like it was something special between me and my mom during those years, just because we spend so much time, and you know what I mean?
I see that with my kids. And
and you get too, you know.
I teach math and science.
Oh,
right? For the most part,
I'm just kidding.
For the most part, I pick the curriculum, right? And then it's like, all right, show me your math. Oh, I don't understand it. All right, let's go through this. And so, I mean, right here, this chair,
that's awesome,
is where my kid will sit, and we'll go over math. Yeah,
that's
I don't
awesome.
know how to. I don't know.
So in other words, I'm sure your children could outdo me on a math test. I'm sure, but
here's what I found. The aptitude and the interest is necessary for anybody.
Yeah. And so
right?
if you can get them interested in it. Yeah.
I had both. So I was interested. I did calculus in high school. I studied engineering in college. I have right here my the gravity book's in the way. I have my engineering books from school that I've used at times, and they wound up just in a stack there instead of on the shelf. But if they have the aptitude and not the interest, or the interest and not the aptitude, they're not gonna do that. You just have to line up.
And that's that for children. Usually, it's just to have the interest, almost to be able, if you can get their attention on something and actually get them to put their attention on it rather than
Yeah, and
you know,
you can make up for a lot of aptitude,
yeah.
missing with interest, but only so much. Only so much.
I just liked homeschool because the teacher was mom, and that was just awesome. She'd take us
Yeah.
with wherever she had to go, and we'd have to bring our books or we'd have to do whatever. It was never the fun to do the work part, but yeah,
I,
it's a special time.
it makes vacations easier. It makes field trips easier.
Yeah.
We have another family that they only have one kid anymore that's in school age, but our
try to do
family,
things
their
together.
family, yeah, like every Friday they'd go do
Yeah.
a field trip together, which
Which is
sometimes was
awesome.
just going, up towards Duluth
And do
and
some.
going out in the
Yeah.
to whatever waterfall out there.
Oh,
Just
okay. Yeah.
going for a walk.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely. Well, and then the other nice thing about homeschooling, and I know we're not trying to continue on forever, but
Yeah,
I do think it's one of the most positive things that if MCToon has like his child's learning in like as a focus, because you're taking on the responsibility to teach them, you get to teach them like specifically how you want to teach them. Maybe you don't think it's a good idea to inject like transgender type of thinking or like that kind of stuff. I think in the schools today could be really a bad thing for a student that's
Yeah, so
young.
we were talking about it this morning that no matter what, you got to treat people with respect,
Yeah,
even if you disagree with them.
unless they're living on a globe.
Yeah,
I'm
of course.
totally kidding.
So and I like that. I don't know. We that's what we teach. This is an important part, and my kids know that. And when they're right, I've got some out of high school now, and they are interacting with people that are definitely not in the same raising the same like
And you were
upbringing,
able
right?
to.
And they interact with them in a respectful way, and it's a positive
That's
interaction.
good. That's good. Definitely good. Yeah, it seems like you definitely have your head on straight, but and not upside down. It when you go to Australia,
It's
But
it is rotating once a day.
maybe it is. I almost said for you, but then you reminded me. Well, we don't live all that far from each other, and I tell you what, we're living on the same ground. But no, that's good stuff. So, all right, I'm going to say thank you, and
Yep. Thank you.
and maybe we'll have like more of a debate type of thing sometime too. Maybe we can talk about maybe once I learn a little bit more how to perceive what that gyroscope's doing, because that's something seems weird there to me that if we've got all the different rotations, we got the Earth going or around the sun and that whole model, that it seems like that 15 degrees per hour might be a little weird to me anyway. But like you helped me out with the thing about the rotation yesterday. That made a little bit of sense, that it would be measuring rotation and not movement.
I got to take it off. Hold a second.
All right, we're gonna let you go.
Hello.
So,
Right.
thank you, MCToon. All right, guys, I'm going to end the stream, and thank you all for hanging out. It was fun, and we'll talk to you soon.